Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis, updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it together. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. I dive deeper into all of these topics and sectors, looking for potential investment opportunities. We've got a Sunday question and answer session coming up at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And we are going to be going over portfolio position size, risk reward setups, physical metals, and kind of how all of that integrates together. So I'm going to share my opinions, kind of how I view it. It may not pertain to everyone since you guys are all at different ages and different levels of retirement or not in retirement and all that stuff. But I'll give the disclaimers up front and then my opinions after it. We do have a coupon code that is active, Black Friday. It is one word, Black Friday. You get a larger discount on the yearly membership and only 50% off of the first month only on a monthly membership to try it out. So if you're a monthly member, you can always switch to a yearly membership and use that discount coupon code, which also extends that discount out into the future. So let's dive in. Let's take a look, see what's going on today. We've got the DXY here. We are still heading down in the DXY. We've got a little bit of momentum heading there. We are at support. So support is this blue line going across here. So we've broken out and we're kind of still around that support area. We'll see if we get support where we're at and if we can make a turn or if we are going to continue down lower. Now, a big driver of that is generally yields. So when we look at the yields are obviously down and they are gaining some momentum. Down on the 2-year, looking like that wants to continue lower. It also has a breakout, retest, and then a potential move lower. And then I've got that box where I think it might end up somewhere in the time frame, which I drew a long time ago. The 10-year is also dropping down. It's got some good momentum behind it. So that is coming down, and that will provide some relief to mortgage rates. So we're going to test my theory here that mortgage rates have really been slowing down home sales, and we're going to see what housing starts and new home sales are going to do over the next 6 months or so if this continues to fall, if it's going to be favorable or if there's no response. If there is no response in housing starts or home sales as mortgage rates fall, then we are definitely in a slowdown recession. Like it's coming. If we see housing starts and home sales go up, or one of the other, if housing starts go up and home sales start to work its way on up too, I would say it's both, then we're not in recession. It is solely based off of the affordability. And if we continue to see home builders go up, the market is front running that move. So the market probably already understands and knows that rates are going to fall. We're going to see home builders go up, which they are. And we're more than likely going to see home sales, new home sales specifically, go up and potentially housing starts follow with it. The 30-year is also falling down about 1.42%, and it is starting to cut through that support area. So we could see further downside in yields across the time frame perspective there. TYX TNX ratio, not really doing much. We've been sitting and just trading sideways here for the past couple of weeks. We're at a very low inverted level. When the sun inverts, that's generally when precious metals go ballistic. That's also when we get a slowdown in the market. You can see here, this was 2020, January 2020 was this guy, and then February, and then March, and that's when things crashed. So whenever you see a large, big move in this, that's generally when crash time potentially could come. Bond prices moving higher, obviously with the rates coming down, and we're starting to cut through that resistance area. So we could see some momentum start to get built here as we cut through it. The 2 and 10, we still inverted the yield curve a little bit. Still inverted. And that is with the 10-year going down more than the 2-year. So dollar and yields dropped. We didn't get much movement on yield curve, and we didn't get much movement on the TYX, TNX. So gold is probably slightly higher, would it be my guess. And gold is slightly higher, up $12 an ounce. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't like seeing it underneath this support level or support trend line. It doesn't mean it can't go up, but a lot of the times you see a breakdown and then a rollover. But I find that pretty hard to make sense of if rates are dropping. So could this be a fictitious move lower? Did they manipulate this lower to, to hit this down before they came in and bought bonds? Maybe it might be the case. And what could happen is this turns into a continuation pattern. Maybe. So we'll see what happens there. We've got silver up 1.6. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. We got this downtrend line that's broken there. We had this big selling pressure day, kind of out of the, just an odd day. A lot of things sold off that day. Gold, silver, oil, they all fell down like 3%. So we'll see what this looks like. I still think this looks fantastic from a long-term perspective. Up, 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 higher, higher, higher. That's also the big 45-year cup and handle pattern that looks just absolutely orgasmic in my opinion. This whole thing there, that guy there, and you can see we're easily broken out to the upside. So longer term, guys, higher, higher, higher. I wouldn't be worried or sweating the short term here. I'm in this. I bought a whole bunch. Where was it? I bought a whole bunch right here. I tried doing some swaps in 2020 at the bottom here, but that didn't work out because the premiums went way big. So I went into platinum too. But I've been riding this thing for a while. A lot of people, they're so short term. They just can't make any money because they wish wash and chase price versus value. And this here is such a good setup on a longer term. It is such a good setup, man. I don't ever see setups this big, guys. Like this is such an anomaly in history in looking at this stuff. Moving over to platinum. Platinum getting a pretty big move today. We're up 2.33%. This is a great entry point there. It still is, but this was a really good spot. And I do think that eventually we're going to break out of this. We're squeezing, 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 and we're going to get a huge break. It's going to be when the dollar most likely weakens. Palladium also up a teeny bit. It doesn't look as strong as platinum, but we've come on down, bounced off support, and then we're kind of moving around here. It does look like we could see a little bit more downside. This is where I would look for it in that location. Inverted flag pattern. GDX up a little bit, GDXJ up a little bit, and SILJ up a little bit. This pattern looks weird. Usually you'll get like a reversal candlestick, like big wick at the bottom or something that saying, hey, we're going to try to turn around here. We don't really have any of that here. They're just small little candlesticks. Indecisive. We dropped here with some momentum. And then all through here, it's kind of like weird looking candlesticks. It's almost like the buyers and sellers equal each other and on lower volumes, probably is my guess. XAU to gold ratio moving sideways, and we're still at a really good, cheap location. So I think this is probably one of the cheapest ratios gold and silver mining companies in relationship to gold. And gold's cheap to all the other asset classes, cheap to equities and bonds and all sorts of stuff. So this is it. This is a great spot to be looking. Crude oil down just a teeny bit. We've got these three small little candlesticks here. We'll see if there's any sort of downside follow through. Usually when you get these small candlesticks, it acts as like a flag pattern, and maybe we drop down there. If we do, then I would be a buyer. If we get a reversal candlestick like a bullish engulfing, then I would flip my opinion. There's also can kind of move back. Looks like there's kind of like a trend line going through here to some degree. We tried breaking out, got rejected, and we're back in this support resistance area. So we'll see if we can punch through that or not. TTF gas up 1.2%. That looks good to continue higher. It's the stair-step pattern that I see. So as you come up, you can see that pattern. It's always facing downward. That's called the stair-step pattern as you move on up. As you fall down, it stair steps up this way, if you want to know. Natural gas in America up 4%. This still looks good. We've broken out of the resistance area and looks good to go higher. Looks very good. We've got XOP, yeah, you know me, still up above support. And we've broken the downtrend here. So makes me think we're going to go higher. I mean, that's where my mind is. If people are positioning in the equities, sometimes these guys have insider information. Maybe oil was being held down. I don't know. But people are positioning in the equities. And that's not just XOP. It's an XLE, XOP, OIH. It's in some of the other ones, like individual companies, especially the big ones, like CBX and all those. OIH also up a little bit, but right at resistance. Some people say that you've got lower highs here, and that we could potentially drop. That is in the cards. It's still on the table. So a lot of the times you want to start to break through these things and clear to create a new high. Then you're in the clear. So we're still in an ambiguous state, is what I'll call it. Newcastle coal futures down just a little bit today, down 0.4%, coming back down. It looks like we want to go a little bit lower in the short term. But we've been basing out for a little while, and that looks generally pretty good for a move higher eventually. Non-physical uranium trust up 0.75%. We are moving sideways. We still have downside momentum here, where we could fall a little bit lower in the short term. We've got uranium futures pricing down just a teeny bit, moving sideways. Not much really to say there. We still have a big green candlestick there, a little bit of selling pressure. Very well could head higher. The way that I view a lot of this, guys, like it just doesn't matter what happens in the short term. Think of it as this is a downward facing pattern. We're going to go higher. Like that's the way that I view it. Short term, it doesn't really matter. URA, yeah, we're up 1.7%. A little bit of a bullish engulfing candlestick, perhaps. We're above support. Still looks good to go higher. Uranium up 1.12, still looks good to go higher. The reason is we made a larger move here, and then we just pulled on back like a flag pattern. We've got URNJ also up 1.2, and it's got that flag pattern going on. So more likely we're going to end up going on up, unless there's some sort of overall market scare or problem. Moving sideways in copper, we're at support. Still looks good to go higher if that support holds. One could say, oh, well, it's an inverted flag pattern. That could be the case too. We could get a downside spill out. So let's see what occurs over the next few trading weeks. COPX up 1%. That looks a lot better, though. That definitely looks like it wants to go higher. It's a bullish engulfing, and this is also a flag pattern into a bullish engulfing. So that definitely looks good to go higher. Maybe copper will end up working its way on up. We've got iron ore down a little bit, but still looks good from a long-term perspective. We're just slowly coming to a dead period, which generally works its way on up. The dead period is where you start here, larger selling, less selling, less selling, less selling, less selling, and then just goes to flat. That means that the sellers are getting tired, and then we can potentially move higher at some point whenever it decides to go. Aluminum up 1%, but we're still at that stinking resistance level. We need to break through it. Nickel working its way on up just a teeny bit today, but we've been, for the most part, working our way sideways at support through here. Move up 0.15%. We bounced off support, and I still think this is ready to go higher off a flag pattern pendant formation. Emerging markets moving sideways. We've just been moving sideways with emerging markets. We've been getting the weaker dollar, but a lot of the other currencies have been having issues. Brazilian real's been going down in relationship to the dollar. Other currencies are also going down, like the Canadian USD. Just to pull one up, Canadian USD, you can see that we've been, although the dollar's been weak, the Canadian USD has been weak too. Hasn't really made a bunch of headwind towards it. These currency differentials is what drives a lot of these emerging market areas. KRE down just a teeny bit, flag pattern looking good to go higher, so that looks good. TAN up 0.8%, looking all right. Obviously, I wouldn't buy this thing. I don't believe in solar that much, well, at all, really. And we've just been leaking and leaking and leaking. I don't think these companies make any money. Lithium up 0.11%, trying to break through a downtrend. That does look like it wants to go on up. REMX also right on support, and it does look like it's trying to work its way on up eventually. And my opinion comes from breaking the downtrend line. You don't break downtrend lines for no good reason. You could get a retest before heading higher. So the short term is a big question mark. And then I think we'll do that after that question mark. Baltic Dry Index down 6%, veering away from the resistance support level. We have been seeing a big kind of selling pressure moves in dry bulk and stuff like that. XHB is a little bit higher today, but for the most part, flag pattern ready to go higher. Looks good. To continue on up, double bottom. We've got Russell 2000, flag pattern, looks good to go higher. Looks good. The S&P 500 working its way on up 0.56%. I think the government wants people in this, and I do think that they are in there doing something. I don't know what strings they're pulling. Generally, this is a topping pattern there, and they pulled the strings right here in October of 2023. Is where they started to pull strings, and then from there we've been up, even in rising wedges, and it just kind of keeps melting up and up and up. So. NASDAQ up 0.8%. This has like an infinite amount of those. You can also see that this is a big top. This is the Batman pattern. This was most likely going to be the other top, and we were going to fall there. But they've been pushing, and there was plenty of times for this rising wedge, throw over top, breaking down, come back up, broke down, come back up, come back up. It is really interesting to see all these, but it's continuing higher. SMCI down 7%. Again, still looks like crap. NVIDIA up 0.217. We're in this rising wedge. You can also see kind of that Batman-esque pattern where we usually fall, but for some reason these things are not falling. We are getting signals, big buying pressure, not much buying pressure there. We get large selling pressure coming down like a hammer hitting this, boom, and not much of a move higher. This has the setup to move lower. We're also seeing distribution to some degree. We're seeing large selling pressure candlesticks all mixed through here, which are bearish engulfings. Those are generally found at tops. Bitcoin up 2%. It's still working its way on up. We'll see if that continues. Your risk goes up as you go up, guys. So I know a lot of people are, they got their hard-ons up here trying to do their FOMO. Your entry point on this move here was in here. Your halfway pattern was this, or slightly under halfway. You break out, and that's going to probably be, the projected move up. After that, your risk goes way up. Your move down here is your bottom here. So this here is just a scrunched up version that is that, if you want to know. So it is this all scrunched up. If you can see the fractal. So your buy point, and I played this, a little bit down here. Your buy point was basically this in here and here. So it's all through here that you should be buying, and then you ride it on up, and here is where things get more iffy. Your risk goes up as you go up. Ethereum's just breaking out of its deal here. I talked about a potential flag pattern and a bloody nose, which you're getting. And this does look like it wants to go higher. So that looks good. But I still am in the camp that your entry point was down here. not necessarily a first entry point here unless you're just trading in the short term. MSTR still getting the gigantic thing. This looks bearish to me that we could go lower. The way that I view this is this big bearish engulfing candlestick. It raises my ears, but it still could do something like a double top or whatever it decides to do. That becomes a little bit more iffy. What I would have done is I probably would have tried to pull the trigger if I saw this reversal somewhere in here. That's where I would have pulled the trigger to sell and on the way down, and then I would just not be in it. That's me. And then the VIX is pulling on back. We are pretty low right now. Still above support, long-term support, but pretty low. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. Black Friday coupon code. We've got the portfolio allocation stuff going on. 5 p.m. Sunday, Mountain Time. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.